Is it okay for a Christian to get a tattoo? Leviticus 19:28 is a verse that's often taken out of context, usually to prove one thing or another. So let's just back it up and see what's really going on here. God is holy, and the book of Leviticus is his way of teaching Israel how to dwell with him. So these laws allowed a way for a sinful people to be in the presence of an entirely pure and holy God who wanted to be with them. So the laws are all divided into these main categories. We have moral, ceremonial, and civil. Moral is basically how to treat God and others. These reflect God's unchanging character. Then we have our ceremonial. These deal with like the offerings, the animal sacrifices to atone for sins. We have Sabbath and festival laws, purity laws, so like the clean and unclean. That's all about ritual purity, by the way, not morality. Just because it's unclean doesn't make it sinful, but God's very essence is life, so he separates himself from things that represent death and decay. Anyways, civil laws deal with things like society. So Leviticus 19:28 actually falls under the ceremonial law. The nations surrounding Israel worshipped false pagan gods, and at this time in the ancient Near East, pagan nations would cut themselves or mark their bodies with tattoos as a form of worship to these gods or as rituals for the dead. And so the command for Israel not to do this is given in order to separate Israel from the other nations. This verse is actually surrounded by other laws that would help identify them as being in covenant with Yahweh, because worship of him is so different compared to the other gods. He wanted them to be able to instantly recognize Israel as being different. You would be able to tell just by their outer appearance that they worshipped Yahweh. And today, of course, we're in a new covenant because of Jesus. And so it's not that we pick and choose which parts of the Bible to follow. It's that some of these laws, like these ceremonial laws, no longer apply to us. So we don't have laws around our food, our clothing, our hair. We take the heart behind the old covenant law and apply it to us today. So God still wants us set apart. He wants us to be able to be recognized as being in covenant with him, but based off of how we love others and how we live our lives for Jesus. The New Testament does teach that what we do with our bodies matter, but once again, going to the heart behind those laws against tattoos, we know it's not actually about the ink, but what it represented. So whether or not you decide to get a tattoo is between you and God. And of course, there's discernment between an appropriate tattoo. But what he's more concerned about is whether or not your life is set apart from the world. So that, my friends, is why reading things in context is very